Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Austin, and I want to make a recap because today we finally got kind of a nice little breakthrough green day in the account. So I'll kind of take you through last week because I didn't make anything recap wise. I think last Tuesday was the last recap I made on this day here. Last week was, I mean, just take a look at last week. Literally, P&L wise, there was just nothing going on. And then right here on Monday, you can see just two trades, Back here on Friday, I had 11 trades. I can click on that and show you the P&L is just all over the place. I was able to scrape back to red, but I mean, let's just take a look here at every day last week in January. I took 2 days off there, but you can see that absolutely crazy day on Monday, which I'd just rather chalk it up and forget, to be honest. And then there, the next day, we did it again, went red and pulled it back. And then on Friday, again, went red and pulled it back. So every day I was in the red, 2 grand, 500, 600, or and then 800 over here. So and then was able to finish green on all those days. That last week was just like a stress bomb. But then coming into today and just having that breakthrough finally, if I can just get my first trade to be green and then the right direction, it's like, okay, we're good. And my first trade was actually like, I took like $50 on it. It was really kind of a nothing burger, but then from there I was able to kind of add on. So I'll take you through the trades here. And I do believe Nvidia was my first trade, and I was looking short on the market pretty much, coming into the open there, looking at the market, and we actually ripped up. We had a pretty explosive move in the market. I usually have the NQ in this one. Recently. So if you look at a 5 minute chart, we'll throw a 5 minute chart up here, and you can see it took us to that kind of 10 o'clock area before we started to really turn around. You can see the NASDAQ was really leading on the way down, blowing through those pre-market lows there. And then the ES was, it really never broke pre-market lows, not until, the afternoon. So kind of a big divergence that I was noticing here. And so that's, typically this is a good thing for me because I do trade, the Nvidia, the Tesla, the tech names that's typically where I go. So if the trend is stronger in the Nasdaq, which oftentimes it is because the tech names are often the ones that work or that move kind of the most in the most severe fashion. So this really kind of works well with my strategy. I like to see the Nasdaq leading typically because those are the names with high volume. So this was today, and you can see there's a lot of choppy action. This is pretty much most of the action because or most of the P&L here was Nvidia. I did have a trade on Apple, which I'll show you as well. But my first trade was on Nvidia, just trying to catch the rollover. And it looks like here on my first trade, I kind of shorted a little bit of a pop here, 300 shares, and then we got that kind of move lower on the next candle, just kind of trying to make new lows. And I really thought I was really looking at this and very much aware of this kind of little pre-market bottom here. I mean, as a beginner trader, you might look at this and just go like, what? Like, this is a bottom or something? Well, take a look at the 15-minute chart. Not only is it a bottom here, but it's kind of a resistance here. So that's what's really nice about having these other time frames up is you can really see kind of, okay, is this a level I really should be worrying about? And it's like, well, yeah, it kind of is. 198. There's something going on here. And sure enough, take a look at that 15-minute chart. Bam, bam, bam. Three times, three wicks going down there, and we weren't able to break. And you can see kind of how I dealt with that. So as we came down here, I was very aware, like, okay, yep, we're coming into a little bit of a level here. On that first chance, I thought, okay, there's a good chance we just run right through it because on the first test that'll happen sometimes. But if we do start to bounce, it's like, okay, once we start to bounce, I did get out of it and I took like 50. That's where I took like the $50. So you can see 199.46, and then we came all the way down here, touched 198, almost 198 even. So I was up like almost $1 and, $1 and some change, so over $300 because, I was short 300 shares. So I was short pretty good size there. And, I didn't, it ripped up against me. I hesitated a little bit, and that's all that that's all that matters. That little bit of hesitation. You can see I'm covering at 199.30. That's the smack dab top of that candle. So I could have done way better there. I just was deer in the headlights, wanted to see if it would just kind of reverse for me and just crack that level. But that was just a little bit too optimistic, and it started to run up on me. So I was like, yeah, I'm getting out, because I've seen this play out way too many times where if you don't get out, and this is exactly what happened. Same stock, Nvidia. This is the exact same thing that happened pretty much on Nvidia to me last Monday, where you can go back and watch that recap. And I took a over $2,000 drawdown on the day and was able to pull it back to green on the day, which I've never done before, and which is not something I'm proud of, by the way. That's just absolutely terrible trading. Um, but same thing happened where it rips up off that support level, and that's where it starts to gain that energy. It starts to just boost on you, and then it's just straight up targeting the nearest resistance, which, how far away is that going to be? And then there's no guarantee it's going to turn around there either. And it took a little bit of a pullback here, but it did start to boost right back up to the closest resistance level. I mean, I'm telling you, that's just how it works, right? When you bounce off support, you target resistance. That's just trading 101. And I this was pretty instinctive on the spot, right? So you can see, because this is a darker blue line, the lines I place now. So if I place a support level here, it's light blue. So these dark blue lines I updated the default. So this was my old default. So that's all just to say this level was something that I did not place today. This was an old level here at 201.25. Well, look where we turned around. Once right off the open, and then again here, testing that. And look at this level right here, 201.25 from last Friday. Coincidence? I think not. So that's where we turned around. And this was just straight up, just instinctual, like, okay, we tested that. Really nice kind of top wick here, double top. This is just looking real, real nice to me. So I was just like, yeah, I'm in. This first sight of red here, bam, I'm back short 300. And there was something really nice about the fact that I was getting an entry above 200 bucks. I was like, I like this short. I think this is going to be a solid entry. And sure enough, it really was. I mean, especially when you zoom out. But you can see it still took us a really long time after that. It felt like a long time for us to finally roll over. So you can see two really quick candles down, and I was like, okay, here we go. Like, looks like we're targeting that kind of 198 level again. But in the moment, right? You zoom into this. These are nice, chunky, solid, green candles. There's some stress in here. The 300 short, I was short at 265. That's real nice right there. Bam, slam, slam, down to 199. I was up, almost $2 a share there at the low, so almost 600 bucks that I didn't take off the table, right? I was looking for grand salami trade, because I always look for the big runners. I mean, when I get something on the hook, I'm looking for a real winner. But this was coming down so aggressively in those 2 minutes. I should have known that it was gonna, spend some time chopping around. Usually that kind of momentum doesn't continue. But anyway, so it did chop around. And, in this choppiness, I did ultimately get a little bit chopped out. And you can see my exits here. I still booked like 400 bucks on this trade. So I got 100 out here, 199, and then the 200 out for an average of 199.50. So still like $1 a share, on that on most of the trade there. So I'm still booking profit, and I was like, you know what, because it was boosting against me here, and it looked almost like a double bottom right here, and I just thought, oh, this could so easily, I mean, hindsight 2020, you can see it eventually broke down, right? But like, look at this on a higher time frame view, or even just on the 1 minute. If I zoom out here, and I'll show you, this is what I was looking at. I was like, well, if we don't crack this level and we're just chopping around basing here, I've seen it happen. All of a sudden, a stock that looks like it's just like slumping toward the lows, it can so quickly gain that relative strength on you, start to boost back up to 201, and then all of a sudden it looks like a double bottom, triple bottom, or something like that, and then it just rips right up. I mean, I'm telling you, this can happen so fast, and don't ever count a stock out. I mean, especially when it hasn't broken the support yet. I'm like literally just sitting here like, why are we not breaking support? The longer it takes, the worse I feel about this, right? It really should be breaking. So when it starts to consolidate on you like this, and starts to really consolidate, you know, it can either crack like you think it will, or it will boost against you. And I didn't want this to trade to come all the way back against me. And it was starting to look like, it started to look almost bullish to me here. And of course, I was watching the market as well. And if I go to a 1 minute, those exact exits probably had something to do with watching relative strength and weakness in the market. So in a lot of this action, Nvidia was trading under VWAP, and the Nasdaq was like ripping up. So, this is 955. You look at 955 here. We were ripping up, and we made new highs on the Nasdaq. So you can see some of these candles, like 957 for example. Nvidia put a red candle in, Nasdaq put a green candle in. So it definitely had the weakness, and so that's why I was trying to give it a chance. But I was like, I know how these things work, and even if a stock is doing stuff like that, putting in red candles against the market, eventually it will fold to market pressure. End of story. If the Nasdaq keeps ripping, this thing will go up. It will. Like I've it, the odds that it will are just, it's worth getting out, booking the profit, and not letting this thing rip against you. That's all I'm trying to say. So anyway, eventually I sat back, I took my profit, and I was like, well, I still think, there might be an opportunity on this, right? I got out on this candle. It was boosting up. I mean, you can see it really took a huge candle for me to get out. And then instantly, 2 minutes later, it folded all the way back down, to the bottom of the candle. So I was like, oh, crap, hindsight, I should have stayed in, but it really looked like it was boosting there. So I just thought, okay, well, I'm not going to jump back in it here. I want to wait at this point. I want to wait till it cracks through the lows, because it'll either crack through the lows or it'll boost, and I'm going to wait until it cracks the lows, in which case I will take it. And that's exactly what I did. So I waited for this thing to crack the bottom, and I got in on that break, 197.87. So really at the bottom or right here. And then the next minute it ripped up against me. I was down like, you know, almost $1 a share on 200 shares here. So I'd almost given back like $200 at the top of this green candle, and then the next minute it made a new low on that next minute. Nice. I mean, it doesn't look like much here, but trust me, in the moment, this is a nice juicy red candle. And it pretty much, this was the minute where I realized I was in control. We're holding under the lows, we're cracking lower, and I was watching the Nasdaq starting to roll over as well. So that was just all just confirmation, and then just getting out along the way. These take profits were just trying to soak up the trade here, 50, 50, 100. That's always nice. I like to see that, where I'm getting out smaller chunks and then the biggest chunk kind of in that nicer spot. And then, it went a little lower, but, this is really nice to get that kind of finally get that move, right? So this is a really, really kind of well executed trade all over. I think I really was flexible, right? Willing to get out, not being stubborn, right? When this thing rips against you. Just trading kind of what I know and what I think is obvious, that if this thing starts to bounce off support like this, you can't ignore the signs, and it's just too likely that it'll rip against you. I've seen it so many times, and thinking that this will target 201 again is I think a good thing to do, good thing to be careful of anyway. And then just saying I'll get back in if it cracks the lows, and then just executing on that. And you can take this trade, right? Say I got chopped around in here, whatever. At least, cut it. Don't get back in until you see what you want, right? So get in anticipation of the move you predict. But then if that move doesn't come, get out and then wait for the apex, wait for the crack, wait for the actual sign, and then get in. And so this is just really well executed. The way I typically trade is I like to get in anticipation of stuff. I like to predict things so that I can get a better entry. So, for example, if you can see it at any point in here and say, for whatever reason, I really think it's going to crack the lows, then you can get in here at 199.55 or wherever it is inside the range and get that better entry, rather than here I'm getting in under 198. So there's a lot of room in here. If you can get in and have that anticipate the move, which is what I prefer to do, then you can really make a lot more, because you can get that better entry, right? But it's a trade-off, right? Because when if you get in premature, right, the setup you think will play out might not. I mean, for a moment here, it looked like it was curling back up. Who's to say it doesn't, boost back up to 200? You get in too early and you could be in big trouble. But it'll pay off in those scenarios where it really does play out. So if you have high confidence, you can get in, right, and anticipate the move. But it doesn't work every time. So it's a trade-off, right? You trade some risk for a better entry. But anyway, this is really where you should be going right here, and this is exactly what I did: is get in short at the resistance, and then if you get short at the resistance, and you think it's going to crack the support, then you have a really good thing going. And I wasn't able to hold the whole thing for it to crack the support, but I who can blame me? I think I had to wait a long time. It didn't just run down and crack the support. That would have been great, but that wasn't the reality. And then last thing I want to add here is just the 15-minute chart. I had my eye on this, and I was really looking at this candle. Well, I was looking at all of them form. But here, it's really, really, really important that these candles close red. This is my whole thing with trading and setups and patterns. I don't need to explain why that's the case. Why is it important that these close red? Well, when a candle closes red, that means that the next candle that opens is more likely to be red as well. That's just basic. That's just that's just what I've observed. And it's especially in a pattern like this where you get these doji, doji, doji in the middle of a range like this, red, red, red. You're gonna get that flush. I mean, at least you know, you don't have to, but it's very high likelihood. If this had closed green, I really truly believe there would have been a better shot of us boosting off the lows. And then of course it all comes down to the Nasdaq as well, so that's a big factor too. But the fact that this candle closed red made me very it made me really sit here and think, yes, I'm gonna wait. I'm watching this closely for the crack under the lows, and that's where I'm gonna get in. It was just confluence. It just supported the idea of shorting this under the low even more. Red, red, red doji, and then flush. It's I've seen it before. So anyway, and then the daily chart too, like and the daily chart of the market and all time frames, everything. It's all just confluence. It's just over and over and over again. Just as much confluence as you can get. The more confidence you have in the trade, and a nice 772. So I don't want to go on too much longer here. I'll show the Apple trade really quick. The idea on this was obvious. This one really kind of freaked me out. I was like, what's going on? Because I shorted this thing as we were coming down. I was quickly up on this trade. I shorted 500. And then as we broke down here, I covered a little bit because it started to pick back up, and I didn't like that. And again, this was all just looking at the market. And what was really weird about this was the market was boosting up, and Apple was like really lagging so hard I couldn't believe it. So I'll show you what I mean. I shorted this, and then you look at this 942 candle. So take a look at that 942 candle, accelerating the drop here. And I mean, that's, 81 down to 57. That's a 30 cent roughly, candle to the downside and closing at the low. I mean, it's, it's not nothing, right? Well, take a look at what the market did at, wait, did I say 942? What am I looking at here? So that was 942. Sorry, I meant not this drop. This drop here. This is 946. So 944, 945, 946. The market ES especially was boosting up. So 945. That's that candle. That's that huge candle. Look right here on the ES boosting 62 up to 67. That's a 5-point ES candle, and Apple is red on that minute. So I was watching this like, what is going on? This is weird. Like, yes, this is helping me, but so I was like, all right, I'll stick around and wait if Apple's really going to be this weak. And then we had that breakdown, but then we boosted out, and I should have done better here. You can see 300 at 05. I waited too long to get out. So again, my stop out could be better here, but I am glad I stopped out in the end. It did have a nice flush lower, about 8 minutes later or so. But anyway, so I took a small loss there, like $20. It was nice that I covered a little. All right, my headset just died on me, so I had to power back on. Anyway, so that's a good spot to end the recap here. So overall 752, which is nice. I want to show off I got 10 SPY put spreads. So I was short SPY last week and then I covered it for a loss, a small loss as the market broke out a little bit last week. But then I think like the next day or something, I put these 10 put spreads on for, like a $500 risk. So I do have a short bias on the market. I can't ignore it. I'm gonna let this play ride. Today went well. So anyway, all right, that's it from me, guys. That was actually a longer recap than I thought. But anyway, just it was a good day today in the market for me. And yeah. All right. Hope you guys are trading well. I'm in the Discord. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to my channel, like this video if you enjoy the recaps, and join the Discord, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.